Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between. Well, what happens when your co-host can't make it? You enlist a rock star, and co-hosting with me tonight is going to be Joey Gem. He's on the road like a rock star coming from a session. Joey, say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yeah, so
I love
right.
you. That's it. What's going on? Thank you.
Right. All right. So we'll be back with Joey Gem and his Universal Love in just a couple of minutes. I want to cover some stuff. Joey will be right back, brother. All right. So we have a new sponsor and like to bring that up right quick. We're going to do one trivia question, rock and roll based, but see, this is the kind of stuff that you can't Google. So this first question is based on one of the jobs that I worked on in the music business. And so let's hear a little bit about Giordano's. CreatiVIty Talkin Trivia. Hey, it's V from CreatiVIty Talkin. We would just like to thank our sponsors, Giordano's of Downers Grove, for sponsoring our weekly trivia question. All right, if you're in the mood to get stuffed, check out Giordano's of Downers Grove. And here's the rules. By the way, winners can redeem in person at the Downers Grove location only. One large stuffed or thin pizza up to 4 toppings. The rules are, you can only answer once per comment, please. So if you got 5 answers, 5 comments. Number 2, first correct answer wins pizza, and you can only win once every 6 months. And we will ship one frozen Giordano's 10-inch stuffed pizza in the continental United States for winners outside the Chicago area to make it fair. All right, here is the question of the week. What guitar god did V yell at for showing up fall down drunk when he had to be submerged into a lake? Answer below. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our Facebook and YouTube channels and also on Twitter. We will see you at Giordano's Downers Grove. Get stuffed. Yeah, so that's actually based on a real job that I worked on. I was doing a music video, Joey, and this guitar god pulled up and poured out of his golf cart when I had to put him underwater.
I'm trying to think of who it could be.
Yeah, don't say nothing.
No.
But, yeah, answer down below. You guys can win a pizza. If you're not in Chicago area, we'll ship one with it'll be a 10-inch stuffed pizza anywhere in the continental United States. If you're outside the country, we're going to ship you a custom-made piece of merchandise that you can redeem if you ever travel to the United States, come to Chicago, and you want said pizza. Just trade us your shirt. So, yeah.
Well,
so
I just want to interject that I'm not a guitar god, so it definitely wasn't me. All right, so let's just clarify. So if you put my name down, you're losing. You're not getting pizza.
That's interesting. So I've always thought, like, everyone who's a rock and roll fan who grew up around the time we did, we knew about that Eric Clapton guitar god spray painted on the wall somewhere in London.
Yes.
How much do you think that messed with his head?
Wow. You know what? I just really feel that when you're in it, you're not really paying attention to all that good stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? People look at you and they have their own perception of what you are and who you are, and what you do. But, I think if you speak to anybody in the industry, we don't take any of that to heart. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we just do what we do, and we try to be as humble as possible at all times. But anyway, it's always a compliment being called a guitar god.
Yeah, but it makes you feel weird. And up until that time, no one was deemed a guitar god. And this is at the time when he's hanging out, he's listening to Hendrix, and he's blown away by what Jimmy's doing.
Exactly. And it goes on and goes, it's so on and so on and so on, right? Like even Eddie VH, he was, he was very uncomfortable with that title. He's like, hey, man, I just want to play guitar. Like, and in his little humble way with his, and, Eddie Van Halen had a very sweet voice. Nobody really, if you really take the time to listen to what he says, right? And he spoke like a little kid. He's like, hey, man, I just want to play guitar. Like, what's the big fuss? And I think that's what makes him so amazing. And that's what really, truly makes a god. God is very soft-spoken, as I would say.
Yeah, Eddie was totally humble, that's for sure. And, like, some people get really strange about it, Ingve, I don't mean to bust on anybody, but some people get really weird about it.
Yeah, and some people just don't. They don't want to be in the spotlight. They just want to be respected for what they do, which I
Right.
feel is really cool. And
Yeah.
those type of guys, man, are really special. And I work with one of them. I work actually with two of them that are very humble. I mean, the drummer Rod Morgenstein, Dixie Dregs and Winger,
Right.
he just loves to play. He's just a big kid, and he doesn't really look into who's this and who's that, and who's better and who's not, and how
Right.
fast you can play, or so on and so on. And quite frankly, Billy Sheehan is also, he's one of the sweetest
Oh, yeah.
men, person that I've ever met and had the experience of calling a friend. I'm truly fortunate to have these icons, as
Yeah,
friends,
yeah, Billy Sheehan is
as well as colleagues.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Billy Sheehan's amazing, man. He just turned 70, and,
Yep.
man, I'm hoping, touring, man, he's probably the one person I was really waiting to see how excited he'd be once the lockdown ended, because he lives for live shows.
He truly does.
You know what I
He
mean?
truly does, and he says he wants to. He wants to, without being morbid, but he wants to die playing on stage. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what he wants to do. There's
Right.
no other place that he'd rather be. And when you look at his face, even now as he's touring with the Winery Dogs, and I mean, the news is out that Mr. Big is going to be touring as well.
Yeah.
He's the happiest kid in the classroom.
Well, he has more fun than the audience, and the audience is having a blast. I mean, you could just see it, you know what I mean? And you feel it, and it feeds back, and it creates this loop.
Yeah, it totally does. It's
You
it's
know?
such a it's an amazing vibe, and
Yeah.
I don't know if the number's right, but over 5,000 live shows in his career and then some. I mean, wow, wow,
Yeah.
just to say that is amazing.
Oh, yeah, and, we're talking earlier about, the spotlight, and there's some people that the touring and the fame part of it was secondary because they were just making music, and then there was a time where the music was secondary to becoming famous,
Exactly,
so,
exactly.
like, there was a big shift, and now you see, like, once time goes by and you see who's, they shake everyone out, you have your George Lynch, your George Lynch's, your Billy Sheehan's, your Portnoy's, all these guys are working musicians.
Absolutely, and
It's not touring every 7 years when they need another Ferrari. They got to be out there because that's what they do.
exactly. Well, it's part of their DNA. Performing is part of their DNA.
Yeah.
It's not just about sitting in the studio and writing. They want to connect with the people, also the audience.
Right.
And I think a lot of these guys are beyond the dollar, even though they're still working and getting paid for what they do.
Sure.
Most of them are financially established. Look at Sammy Hagar. I mean, come on, hundreds of millions of dollars. Michael Anthony, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know what? They're still playing clubs.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do that, but
No.
they're doing it because it's their DNA. There's nothing else that they want to do.
Yeah, and Sammy has talked recently about he wants to limit the amount of shows he's got left to play. He just doesn't want to go out all willy-nilly. He wants to do select.
Yeah.
The guy's 73. I've never heard him sing off note.
Exactly.
I mean, he's got nothing to prove. Rob Halford's 73 years old, Judas Priest.
Right. And it's really interesting that we're discussing this because it's really scary, especially for me. They still call me the kid in the industry, because I barely broke 50 right now,
Yeah.
But what do we have to look forward to? And that's, when these guys do hang it up, and that's
Right.
really the scary thing right now. And that's what Road Crew's all about.
Right.
Road Crew is, we want to create music that can carry us into the next 2 decades, 3 decades, right? And continue what all of the greats have done already, because in a way there's a lack of there's a lack of new music, and I think you and I are going to touch base on it later with all the cover and tribute bands out there. There's a lack of creativity, not to take the name from your show, creativity talking. It's like, that's what I do. I sell.
Right. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to, anyone who's creative, we want to help spread the word because they're, all the greats are retiring.
Right.
And that's the journey is like, with the reaction of it, tunage. It may be stuff that I've missed. It may still be there, but I missed it because I'm a parent and I had shit to do. You know what I mean? Like, just like anyone else, you get busy and then you don't know whose album comes out and, and then I got back into it, but now I'm finding like this younger group of players and some of them been around for 20 years.
Right.
And they're ready to fill in for the shoes of ZZ Top or, name your band, Joe Bonamassa. He's got nothing to prove. That guy's an animal.
Yeah. Awesome. And, he's done it all on his own, man. He just started going out there. His dad helped him.
Yeah. Him and his manager, same manager since she was a kid.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, he's just, he's really doing something amazing and people, he's selling out and he's just getting bigger and bigger and stronger. And, it's great to see. And,
each quarter, he's in a different band. He's got a different band for each quarter. Record tour.
Exactly. And another guy that I really want to give kudos to is Slash. I feel that Slash, he works with every single artist out there, and he's he's like another version, the rock and roll version of Nile Rodgers, which Nile Rodgers is someone that I totally admire. And I just love that he's working with every single artist that's out there, and he fits. No matter he's in what is he doing, a Capital One commercial?
Right.
I mean, 25 years ago, you would have never even thought of that, right? Because rock and roll wasn't mainstream. It was like, oh man, you're rock and roll. I got long hair. You smell, And now these guys are doing Capital One commercials. It's like, wow.
For sure. Yeah, and they're picking. Yeah, hey, what do you want to make $1 million on, Ford or Pepsi?
Exactly. Right. I'll just take the million, whatever you want.
And good for them. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than having to go out on the road for 6 months if they're hurting or whatever,
Yeah. Well, it's it's again, the pains of, also, that's another thing. The pains of touring is extremely, everyone's vulnerable to the elements of touring. Whether it's bad bones or, hip replacements and finger tendonitis. I mean, it's a business, it's a business and it's a sport in its own way.
Right.
So, and I think, today with social media, people are giving, you're seeing the reality behind the music, the real artist and, what they're going through in life instead of just looking at a picture saying, wow, I want to be like that. Because, sometimes in reality, maybe we don't want to be like that.
For sure. Yeah. Like the older I got, I was like, the less I would ever want to be famous.
Right.
Like now, like it would be nice. Hey, what's going on in the wave? That's cool. But to be crazy, that's jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the trade-off isn't equal, I'd say,
Yeah. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into anything.
Oh, no. But so it's funny you mentioned Van Halen earlier, and there's this little thing going on. Did you see this thing going on Twitter with Wolf?
I follow Wolf, so and Wolfie has the same birthday as baby Rocco, 3/16. So it's just amazing that Eddie and I would share something so personal as having a son on the same birthday.
Right. And this is episode 316 in honor of Rocco.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me.
Absolutely. So they, I don't know why Wolfie gets the shit that he does, because one, you can't question his playing, you can't question his singing. What's your problem? Like it's just trolls.
Yeah.
Like real rock and roll fans, he was in Van Halen for what? How many? 12, 15, 13 years?
Sure, yeah, man.
I saw him, he never let me down. Solid player. It was great to see him and his dad share the stage. I mean, you
It
know.
was a true blessing to have that experience.
Yeah, he didn't get there because he sucked.
Right. No, he plays.
Yeah, exactly, you know. And
Right.
so people were giving him shit or whatever, and they said, "Oh, something about falling back on his dad's name," and he's like, "Dude, Van Halen is literally my last name, you great."
Exactly.
You know.
You're absolutely right.
So
And
then the way that he deals with trolls is he's really good at it.
Yeah, because you learned a
He's
lot from
really
him.
good at it.
Because
So
his dad never fell for that shit,
right.
Excuse my language. And Eddie was the most compassionate, honest, straightforward guy, and he never got into that little, mincing of words.
Right.
It was like, hey, man, this is what I do.
Right. Exactly. That's what he does. That's the family business.
Exactly.
And so he put a poll up on his Twitter page on what he should change his name to. So now the name of his Twitter, and it may be the name of the band for his second recording that he's almost done with, is now Mammoth Led Zeppelin.
Oh my God. That's freaking hilarious. Yeah, that is really funny. And that Mammoth, I don't even
on.
Mammoth was Van Halen's original name,
Yeah.
Before they were Van Halen.
Absolutely.
So, it's just an awesome, anyway, it's like, it's really crazy. You try not to really listen to the whole troll thing, and
it's funny. Yeah.
But Wolfie knows how to handle it, and what I love about him, for a young kid, he's really got it together. And I think his mom has a lot to do with it too. I think his mom, Valerie, has a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah. And his uncle.
Of course, yeah.
Valerie's brother was really big in his,
yes,
coming up. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So yes, the way you handle social media today, and guess he's a young kid, so he's in it, right? I think it's for us older cats that sometimes we're like, man, we could put our foot in our mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't realize how powerful it is.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny, now that our viewership's up and stuff like that, we're getting our fair amount of trolls, and it's funny.
Yeah.
That someone will actually stop their day.
Right.
And try to think they're funnier than me, number one.
That's impossible.
Right. So, and then their insults are like, oh, hey, and then go after the amount of follow. I'm like, hey man, I don't care, whatever,
Yeah.
What are you gonna hurt my feelings?
Yeah, I know, exactly.
I don't have any. I grew up in the 80s. Yeah.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it's really and then since the plague that happened in the 2-year, life hiccup that everyone had to deal with.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of people with a lot of anger they need to release in some way, and I don't think they know how.
Listen, what I really feel has happened. Okay.
And they keep on getting pummeled. I mean, every second of every, turn off the screens for a little bit, go out and stand next to a tree,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, during the pandemic, I do think, though, a lot of people that kept it together, the creativity came out. It revealed itself.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of people, either gave up and didn't know what they were doing or what they were going to do.
Right.
But during that time, I wrote some of my best music. I mean, best music, meaning for myself. I wrote a lot of great stuff. I got to work with a lot of musicians that weren't touring, and it helped create very strong relationships. Because we always had one thing in common, and that was sharing, music. And I got to work, with a couple of people, and was offered, deals with I forgot his name. Oh my God forgive me, the drummer of Korn, and an amazing drummer.
Ray Luzier?
Yes, and I got offers to work and write and ability to work with some of these cats. Okay, from a distance, because we weren't in the same city or anything. However, and whether something came of it or not is not the point. The point is that the ability, the possibilities are there, and they were there, and to be in that mix
Mhm.
is something huge. You know, and something that I'll never forget. You know, because sometimes it's, you know, um, the relationship sometimes is a lot more important than the final product. You
Right.
know, because uh, you can never pay for that experience. I mean, that experience
Oh,
is
sure.
amazing. So, COVID, you know, was horrible per se for the, you know, the entire world. We lost so many lives, so many souls, and the people that did get something good from it, and it really humbled a lot of us,
Yeah.
and I built very strong relationships through that time, and I think many people did.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories of people walking away from their corporate job because they wanted to
Mhm.
paint or,
Yes,
you know, this,
yes,
that, or the other. And you know, like you know, I was hoping that we'd get great works of literature, we'd get great albums, you know, and those things are just starting to come out now. I mean, just, you know, Winery Dog's new album, that thing's a
yeah,
monster.
awesome, awesome, awesome.
You know, pent up energy there. Anthony Gomes, he's just hitting week number 14 on the top 10 Billboard, #1 Billboard Blues album of the year.
Mhm.
And Ray Luzier plays on 6
Yeah,
tracks along with Billy Sheehan on that. And
yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of good coming, I think.
Well, that was around the same time
Yeah.
that I was asked to write some music with
Right.
right, and Billy, and you know, and again, it was just something, and it's really funny because I'm a real loyal cat.
Right.
So, and you know, the real story behind it is I was working on some material, and Billy asked me, say, "Oh, do you want to use Ray on that?" And I was saying, I said, you know, I'm so loyal to, you know, so and so that I really, and you know, it's just like,
Right.
you know, I might be kicking myself in the ass for it later, but you know, again, I just wanted to keep the consistency of my loyalty,
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
you know, and you know, so it's not a matter of wanting or not wanting to work
Yeah.
with
In
someone.
1987, a manager approached me. I was in a, you know, playing in a garage band, and he wanted me to replace a singer that was signed.
Right.
And I said, "Well, my band, dude, what?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do that."
Exactly.
Whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like in my house, my boys, they didn't have a lot of rules. I had 3 words, and they had to go to the board if they messed up and read it. What does it say? It says truth, respect, loyalty.
Right.
Say that again. They 3 times they'd say it, and then okay, now why? Without
Right.
truth, you won't get any respect. Without respect, you won't get any loyalty. Maybe
Right.
that's just something that people from New York and Chicago get. I don't know, Joey. I don't know, Joey. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, yeah, you know, you know, listen, it's huge. You know that Chicago, man, and
Yeah,
New York loyalty,
yeah,
respect. I mean, you know, people like, you know, what do you know, I can't do anything for you. What do you want? I said, I just want to be respected, man. You
yeah.
know, and you know, and loyalty goes a long way. You know, it really does.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
so and it's the people that like kind of, you know, I posted something the other day that you know, got to think a pretty good positive vibe. It's like, you know, when I work on a project, I put all my eggs in one basket.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is I'm not that my feelers aren't out there, but if I'm working with you,
Right,
I'm gonna see it through. I'm not
right,
trying
right,
to. I don't have my hands in 18 different projects trying
right,
to be a hero in every single one of them.
right,
Because guess what? You know, it just doesn't work.
right.
So, you know, and people sometimes say, well, you know what, you know, as an artist or as a musician, you know, you can work in 10 different things. I'm like, yeah, you know, that might be okay if you're
Right,
already super established. You know what
right,
I'm saying?
sure.
But if you're, you know, if you're trying to make a name for yourself and you're trying to or create a project, you know, you gotta put the time in,
Yeah,
you know, into that one thing.
right.
And just like anything else, you know, when you know you go to medical school to become a doctor, you go to medical school. You don't go to mechanic school, you know, a trade school to be a doctor. You know what I'm saying? It's like, or maybe I'm going to go to business school. No, once you become a doctor, then you specialize in whatever oncology or surgery.
Yeah.
Then you want to go to law school. Cool, you already got your degree in medicine. You know,
Right,
but
right, 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 right.
you know, try to do them both at the same time is ridiculous.
Right.
And that's how I look at, just music in general and creativity and I don't know, man. I just like working with people. I like connecting
Yeah.
um with the project I'm working on. I
Yeah.
like, connecting with the musicians. I like growing with them. And then, if it goes somewhere, great. If not, we shake hands and, it's a learning experience, right?
Right. Right.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't work with that. I mean, just like being on a crew. I mean, I was, early on, I switched to behind the scenes, so I got to, help facilitate entertainment that way. And
Right.
I mean, the stuff you see, you're privileged in the cool situations you find yourself in that no, I mean, I'm a weird magnet to begin with. If something odd is going to happen, it's happening right here.
Right. Gotcha.
you know, so it's
Yeah,
even like, so you're in these things, you're seeing these players, these actors, all types of professionals in these situations that normally you wouldn't find yourself in locations you never could get to,
Right.
and and then people go, oh, why, oh, you're writing that book. Did you have money ahead of time? Well, that's not how it works. Well,
No.
I wouldn't waste my time. Well, you're not me, and I didn't ask for your opinion.
Exactly. Well, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, who am I hurting writing a book?
Exactly. Nobody. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How
No,
am I offending people?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
And if you're not a creative, you don't get you have a compulsion. There's no choice of not doing it.
Exactly. You're right. And right there, I want to touch on that for a second.
Yeah.
People discuss people discuss oh, I want to take lessons on how to write music or how to create things. Well, you can't teach it.
No.
Okay. And that's something that truly makes me not laugh, because everyone's trying to better themselves, right? But
Sure.
music or writing a book, but for me, I'm going to discuss music. And I wake up in the morning with a song in my head, verse, chorus, riffs, almost, if there
Right.
needs to be a guitar solo, it's complete. You
Right.
know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Um it's not, you can't go to school and learn that.
Right.
I can't go take a class and say, how do I write a song? And musicians, you can take of course, if you go to music college, let's say,
Yeah.
and people say, all right, well, you go from the 1 to the 4 and then you throw in, that's all great,
Right.
but it's the rhythm behind it. It's
Right.
how many measures are you going to put into it? It's how you're phrasing everything. Okay.
Right.
So that's something that no one can teach you.
Right.
And that's why, when you say, like, it's you have to do it. It's a
Right.
calling. You wake up in the morning, you have it in your head.
Right.
No, you're driving and it's like, like, you don't go and say, oh, I'm gonna go. How do I write that?
Right. Right.
No, it doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah.
people who have these, I call it a gift. I really truly do. And those are the things that are special. And that's what you want to, as an artist, as a writer, as a composer, you want to share with people.
Right.
And you hope that it touches them.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's truly what an artist does, and naturally, we don't
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. Like when I'm writing, my books and stuff, I'm literally in the room with the characters. I'm in
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
room. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah, man. I totally understand. And those are the things that, what, and I wish, more, well, more people do. Will be doing that.
Yeah.
I speak to a lot of younger musicians. I'm talking about teens, and they're
Yeah. Like
teenagers.
when I was back in the day when I was in bands, I would wait and I was writing. I mean, that's what I started writing was lyrics and, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I'd wake up, You know, like,
yeah,
you know, I couldn't play guitar, so I,
right.
you know, I would try to write that down. What?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. You know, in years ago, we didn't have the iPhone where we could just, or any other phone where we could just, like, you know, turn on the, you know, and speaker and put something on and record it right away. Right. I
Right.
have thousands and thousands of pieces of music on my iPhone.
Yeah.
I can go back and say, wow, look, in 2018 or whatever, I wrote this, you know, and, you know, bring it back to life. You know, I can never capture the same energy, but
Right.
I give it a different energy, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, you know, it's like, you know, I think the world will be a better place if everybody gets back in tune with that creative energy that most of us have.
Right. You know, like back in the day when they had, you know, when everything was being recorded to tape, they had to have that mix that day because that tape is physical and it's going to change.
Exactly.
48
Yeah.
hours later, it's going to be a different song when you hear it. So
Exactly, you know, exactly. And, you know, yeah, I don't know where you want to go with this, but I started in the studio now with the Road Crew album that we're recording. I'm using a mixture of the 2-inch, you know,
Oh, okay.
you know, and you know, all the digital stuff we have today, and you know, without getting too complicated in it. But you know what? I'll take
Yeah.
something and take it off of digital, put it on a 2-inch just to give
Right.
it its warm sound, and then
Yeah.
throw it back on a digital because that's what everybody's mixing with these days, you know.
Right.
But
I
again,
mean, my degree is in audio engineering and television engineering. So,
right.
yeah, I mean, we were
You know what
trained
I'm
by the
talking
guys
about.
who recorded the Eagles. And so we were
Yeah,
at the studio, did the first loop. So when, you know, like Roxanne, you're talking about this 2-inch to digital.
right.
Roxanne just came out with an album from Rat Pack, and that's
Yeah,
how they recorded it. And it sounds amazing.
right. Exactly. It has a warmer sound,
You
and
get the
you can.
warmth again. Speaking of
Yes.
warmth,
Yeah. Whoa.
Mr. Rob Armstrong.
Long Island Sounds himself. What's happening, buddy?
What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah, man. What's up? What a
Oh,
surprise.
just got back from Stereo Garden.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I was shooting Shoot to Thrill, and I wanted to join the show, so I didn't get a chance to shoot Completely Unchained.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
right.
how
We were
you guys
talking
doing?
about Van Halen earlier. Good. Joey was just talking about starting the recording process for the road crew, and he's talking about how he's going 2-inch tape into digital.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
why did you chose it for the warmth, right?
Yeah, for the warmth, and you know, it does have a different. In my ear, people say you can't tell the difference. I totally do. So I think it's the people that are just pushing the digital that don't want you to believe there's a difference.
Well, the
But
compression
I'm telling
ratio
you,
is totally different.
Yeah, there's a total difference.
Totally different. Everything. There's, you know, with straight digital, and there's a little bit of a harshness to the songs, to the music, to the sound. When you go with a 2-inch, you know, there's a difference. And
Yeah,
even
there's
if
like
you
no
use it
round corners. There's no
right,
everything. Yeah.
right. Even if you use it in the mixing process, it doesn't have to be all on the recording end. You know what I'm saying? As long as you have a little bit of, you know, traditional tape sound, I feel that, you know, you're going to get your point across a little better,
Right.
you know. So it's not, listen, it's I'm just again, for me, sound is very important.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
If I don't hear the sound and the warmth, my ear just totally turns off. I don't
Well, and here's the other thing too. Just because it's a shortcut doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
You know, and so how much, if any, does it add any time to the process of?
Oh yes, yeah. You know what, it does, because, you know, first of all, you're driving the engineer out of his skull.
Right.
Okay, and it's like, oh my God, Joe, really? And then, you know, but then at the end of the session, they're like, that was a good idea, man. That was a good idea.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Well, here's the interesting. So for people who have local bands and they're recording their stuff and they want to go 2-inch to digital,
How much extra hours should they, let's say, put into their budget?
10 hours a song.
10 hours a song extra?
Easy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say easy, but but again, it's all depends on how much, what you want to get out of it. Listen, it's just like anything. If you're just doing it to do it, then you know what, not going to get anything out of it.
Sure.
If you're doing it because you want to hear something that's in your head, and that's like the greats like Eddie Van Halen. If you want to talk about sound, right? I mean, this guy, he was constantly developing and researching and creating how to sound great. You know what I'm saying? How to make a difference. So if I'm just going to go there, let's record those tracks on 2-inch, blah 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 blah. First of all, find the guys that have the machine, right? Still that are using it, that know how to use it, know. And then just because it doesn't make any sense, right? It's got to be, you have to, because also I'm going to be honest with you. Recording on 2-inch, what your sound is, if you're I use live amps for everything. Okay. I don't use many of those plugins or, I call it fractal, craptal, and all that stuff. Sorry to the companies, but I use an amp. Okay. With a microphone in front of it.
Yeah.
So, but if I'm going to use, craptal, fractal, and I'm going to go to 2-inch, I'm still going to sound like crap. You get what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm not saying,
yeah. If you're an electronica type band, you're not going to want to use 2-inch. You just want
to so you're defeating the purpose. Okay. So if you record with a, Marshall 412 or a 212 or whatever, and and you're going in there and you're recording to 2-inch, you're going to get a warmer, deeper sound. And then when you bounce it to digital, Pro Tools and all that good stuff, you're gonna transpose that sound. You're still gonna have the tone there. So it's not just, let me do it because I think I'm cool and I want to do it, but I'm using the same plugins, technically, right? So and that's the thing, and even back in the 80s and 90s, when you're going in the studio and recording, we'd have our pedal boards, the digital pedal boards, GP8s, GP16s and all that stuff. And, I wouldn't record with that, even though I played with it live to reproduce the studio sound. I would still go straight chord into amp. You know what I'm saying? Gain on 10 and go, because then I would let the engineer or the, the studio handle delay or
fix it in the mix.
Right, exactly. So I always recorded dry. I never recorded, with any effects on.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing a little bit different on this album, on certain tracks, I'm trying to duplicate the sound from the 5150 albums. And Eddie kind of would detune a little bit. Just a fraction. Not every guitar is tuned identical, right?
Yeah, that bright rounded mid-range.
Exactly. And so I'm trying to do a few different things now. And we have a song called Nothing But Time, that if you listen to the guitar, it's so cool. Like, it's so, and I'm like, yeah, I've been waiting years to get that sound, literally, and so this album here, I kind of, I'm taking my time and nothing but time, but I'm taking my time because because the other guys are on tour. Like, so it's like I'm not under any pressure to deliver anything. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm so happy that I can take a month just to do a rhythm guitar on one song. All the bass and drums are done. Everything is done. So I can now sit back and really just focus on every aspect of the guitar without it being produced overkill. Meaning just play it you know, I'm also known as a one take type of guy. I go in there. I mean, I could ram solos out in one take. 3 minutes, I'm in and out. So the solos actually are the last thing that I'm concerned about. It's the sound of the song that I'm totally focused on, and bringing out the other tones of the bass. And when you hear the recordings with Billy on it, it's amazing what this one man does, because there's no other bass player that can do what he does. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, he
Straight up.
fills the space like no one else on the
Oh
planet.
man,
Yeah, no kidding.
you know what? I'm in a position, right? I mean, I wish I had stuff to share with you guys right now, which I don't. But like, I mean, it's just mind-boggling, like how he plays. And then I have a guy like Rod Morgenstein who's doing the beats under everything, and I'm like just blown away. It's rock and roll, but what they're doing is so creative. Again, taking your name, creatively speaking, talking. I mean, it's just so awesome, and the experience comes through. That's the other thing. I can go in the studio with probably whoever the top 3 drummers or bass players are in the world, with the exception of Billy and Rod, and they're not going to sound the same as what these guys are doing. And what I mean by that is they can be technically great, okay, but they're not as great, okay, and that's the difference. And so I kind of screwed myself, because it's very difficult for me to go in the studio and record with anybody but the Billy and Rod team, because their experience and their years of perfecting their art is incredible. So that's like Jimmy Page, playing rhythm or playing a couple of tracks on an album, right? Who the hell are you going to get better than Jimmy Page? Who? Nobody. He's been doing it forever. So you know what? I mean, all these things are what I am bringing into this album, and I call it my pyromania, from Def Leppard. Like, it took them so many years, to complete that album. But they got what they wanted out of it, and nothing went overlooked.
Yeah.
So, and with the exception of my own guitar playing, my guitar playing, I'll overlook like a bad note, because I think it's natural. And if I'm going to go in there and the performance is really good, I'm not going to change the performance to fix a note.
Right. Is anyone going to notice it? Number one.
And even if they did, you know what, man? My answer is it's rock and roll. And I never claimed to be a rock god. You know what I'm saying? Or a guitar hero.
The beginning of Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. If that dude didn't spill his coffee, there wouldn't be the pre-echo of the start of the song on there.
Exactly. And and so so that's how I feel, man. And I just feel if more people, well, again, I can't speak for anybody else because I don't know the process that they use. But I'm not going to change a put together part, recorded well, just to fix something. I'm going to say, okay, hey, man, it is what it is, and and I think in the industry, not in public, let's say, but in the industry, I'm respected because I really just play from my heart, and it's very difficult, we as musicians sometimes we have such big egos that we're so afraid to let other people hear our weaknesses, and but I think that's part of who I am. My weaknesses are my strengths, and guys like the masters that we've mentioned, and I'm not going to continue throwing out names because it's just boring. What I'm saying is, but I feel the masters at what they do appreciate me for that, because I'm not trying to be the Steve Vai or Eddie Van Halen or any of those guys, because they are who they are. And why would you want to be like them? You know what I mean? You want to be able to have the ability, but you don't want to sound like them, because then you're copying something that's already been done.
Oh, for sure.
So it's really interesting. In one song, well, I'm going to change it, but I totally ripped off Jimmy Page's. It's a hard hitting song, "Living to Die," and we're redoing it for the new album, obviously, and because that was just like a demo, and the solo in it is Jimmy Page's from "Whole Lot of Love," but it's a fast version. But it's exactly his solo, So I said, so the funny thing is, because I was just waiting for people to say, "Wow, that really sucks." Well, you should talk to Jimmy Page because he wrote it. You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm saying? It's like I do things like that. So I will take a solo that a great artist like a Jimmy Page, wrote, and I will, change it up a little bit. And but do it, but put it right in the song, and people like, those licks, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, you know what? If you don't dig it, then you don't dig what Jimmy did. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because it's his solo, and so, and I guess what I mean by that is like, it's okay to, and I do it every now and then just to see people's reactions, to see if they catch on to it, and and it's really cool. I just love it. I love it because I could walk away from it saying, hey, if you think it sucks, fine. I mean, listen, what can I tell you? Really, I'll give you Jimmy's number. Go call him. Because he's the guy behind it, and I think that's pretty cool. I just love, and that's it. Again, today, play from your soul. Do what you do naturally. Play for the song. Don't play, for the people listening to the song. Play for the song. And if the song is great, people are going to enjoy it, and people are going to appreciate it. And that's it. And Billy always told me also, he said, listen, a great song is a great song. No bad mix is going to kill a great song. You get it? So, but a bad song.
Once you play it live, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And a bad song will always be a bad song, and no great mix is going to fix a bad song. So, it's just, so that's how it works. And that's how I look at it, and we have shit that's recorded that I'm like I have bass and drums to it, and I'm baffled. I'm like, what am I going to do with the guitar? Like, it's like, because the bass and drums is so great, it's like, I don't want to mess it up. So we're working on one song. I forgot the name of it, and I keep putting it to the side. It's really a rocker. It's like, like one of those. And what I'm going to be doing on top of it, I'm doing like a jazz thing, like, and the thing is like, like hard hitting rock and roll. And the only thing you don't have in it is the hard guitar. It's like this jazz ensemble thing. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? And it's like, why should I make it sound typical? I mean, why should I record something that people are going to expect? So, and also there's two ways of that I'm writing for this album is I'm writing for songs that I know are not going to be a hit, you know what I mean? Like, top 10 or anything like that, because we're all dreaming still of that, platinum deal, platinum album, and, winning the Grammy and all this other great stuff. Right. But the songs that are just like, I know that are great songs, I'm going to focus on making sure they're great songs, for the listener, not for any kind of prestigious accolade of it's going to be a hit. You know what I mean?
For the Academy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be, it's not every song is a love song. But I am writing a song, which may not be on this album, called Everyone's Writing a Love Song. Everyone's writing a love song, So, but that's going to be another, for another project, and anyway, that's it. It's just play from your heart, man. And that's, I'm going okay with that.
Absolutely. And speaking of coming from the heart, let's hear a quick word from Mr. Vito Bupkis.
Uh-oh.
The Book of Vito Bupkis.
Hey, everybody, it's your pal Vito. In this book, I talk about subjects people seem to get their panties in a wad over. I mean, who would have thunk? gay fucking marriage, common fucking sense, garage fucking sales. But hey, what do I know? Guaranteed to offend, and it's available now at vincentcustos.com, and, you can get it there.
The Book of Vito Bupkis.
So all he is today, or else.
Good old Vito.
So Joey, I'm sure you guys already talked about this. What are you doing in your car?
Oh, yeah. So I was actually in a session.
Oh, okay.
And I got out late, and I texted at about 9, New York time, I think it was 9:30, and I was like, "Yo, what's up?" I was like, I gotta be done by 9:30, and then I got stuck in the car, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere fast, so I'm doing so in the car. So this is real live rock and roll. It's like whatever. I mean, I'm actually, cops. I was okay. So it's really funny because I was being driven. And then the person that was driving my vehicle had to get into their vehicle to leave. So now I'm in the passenger seat of my vehicle, and I got to pull off somewhere where the cops stop driving by because I know they're going to come. But that might be cool for the show, right? If a cop's like, hey,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do
He's
you do?
not on Long Island waiting to whack 3 guys.
Yeah. What are you doing, bro?
Not even close.
It's like, yeah, I really don't know what's gonna happen. It's like, I don't know how I'm gonna talk.
Chicago officer.
Yeah, I'm doing an interview in Chicago. Yeah, all right, man. Have you been drinking, sir?
No, but I have, officer.
Yeah, it's like, so, but anyway, this is rock and roll, man. This is what I live for. It's like,
That's funny.
Absolutely.
So, I'm going to have to, my timing was totally off tonight. I was just like, oh, shit, so I'm going to have to pull into somebody's driveway and at least, tell them, hey, I'm going to borrow your driveway for the next couple of hours.
Well, speaking of rock and roll, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Soto report.
Ooh, yes.
I love Jeff Scott Soto. I think he's like, dude, what? He should be one of those guys, like in regard, like on the Billy Sheehan level of respect. I don't understand why he isn't in the biggest band in the world.
Isn't he going to be? Is he the singer for
with Michael Anthony?
Oh, that's what I'm gonna talk about here. Jeff Scott Soto implies he is the singer of the new band formed by Van Halen, Bon Jovi, and Aerosmith members. So we have Michael Anthony on bass, Phil X on guitar, and John Douglas, who's the current touring drummer for Aerosmith.
Awesome.
Now, I think this is kind of in response to of Sammy wanting to slow down a little bit.
Yes.
And, Mike's a little younger. I don't think by too much.
No.
But late 60s.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting because I always thought, Jeff Scott Soto should have replaced David Lee Roth after the second time, before the guy, Gary from Extreme.
Yeah. That was a really, you know what? Can we discuss that for a second? Because I was really, I was a big Extreme fan, back in the day. And, I would go up into Boston and stuff because there was a management that wanted to manage what I was doing, and they were managing Extreme and so on and so on. However, I don't understand why Gary changed his whole look when he joined Van Halen. And I thought that, because he was like a David Lee Roth of, you know what I'm saying? With Extreme, right? And then he went with Van Halen and he wanted to become like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, when Gary Cherone left, I don't know. When he was in Extreme, he was like almost like he wanted to be in a ska band.
Right.
And he wanted to be, in a funk type,
Get the funk out.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to tell you in more than words.
Right.
But
continue.
Yeah. Hey, Kid Zero. But Extreme's a great band.
Awesome. Yeah. I love them. I just didn't understand his whole thing when he joined Van Halen. It was like he almost left who he was
Yeah,
behind.
Maybe that's just what he looked like at the time because everyone was kind of cutting their hair at the time. You had like
his vocal.
Well, even Eddie cut his hair at the time too.
Yeah, but Gary, like even with his vocal thing, like he no longer was doing the extreme thing that he was known for.
Doing what he was paid for because he sounded a lot like Sammy on that record.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult to sound.
I think he was hired to be Sammy Light when they should have done.
Well,
you know what I mean? And
good point.
A gig to him, you know what I mean?
Good point. Yeah, because I was so unfortunately disappointed, and that album, did tank, and the tour tanked, and
Eddie wasn't in a good place. There was a lot of happening.
Yeah, it was really you're right. So but anyway, I mean, listen, it's I'm curious to see. Well, I mean, Extreme came out with that new stuff that Nuno's just kicking ass on. I mean, that kid just gets better and better and better and better and better. But again, we encounter this problem musically where people, it seems like the new audience is hard to attract, and hard to maintain, and I feel that no matter what these guys are writing, I should say whatever we're writing and whatever we're putting out there, people are just not. They're not. I don't want to use the word buying. They're just not supporting, I should say. It's very wishy-washy.
But it is going to be nice to hear original Van Halen songs with the backing of Michael Anthony and Soto on vocals, and that's been the Soto Report. Every week we do something on Jeff Scott Soto because we love him.
Well, Jeff is great. Rob, didn't we see them? We were at a show. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was
the Gramercy.
And what was the band? It was with Billy and
Sons of Apollo.
The Sons of Apollo.
Yeah, Sons of Apollo. Yeah, he was awesome, man. It was just totally awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was. I love them. So yeah. Anyway, great segment on Soto there.
And that's the Soto Report.
That's the Soto Report.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about cover bands versus playing your original music, or as I say, hey, do you want to play originals or do you want to make money? As far as like playing in bars around, locally, not, in the local, it's very hard, I think, now to go
that's
out
the
and
argument
play
here on Long Island.
I mean, unless you have some notable people in your band, you're going to be hard pressed to find an original gig.
Yes. Well,
you
know what? Let's first of all, I just want to just say this. Every musician that's, first of all, to play in a cover band, or a tribute band, I mean, these guys are working really hard, right? I mean, they're super talented, and their stamina to do this night in, night out is extremely it's something to definitely talk about, because the guys are super, super talented.
Yeah, like we have the number one cover band here, Joey.
Yeah.
They play so often that they actually have production where they can sing to track and have most of the instruments on track because they play so much.
Yeah, well,
I don't think that for like if we could talk about that after this, playing the tracks and all that stuff.
We can. Well, which Billy just had an issue about that. He just spoke about how he didn't like it because, and again, I really didn't. I'm surprised that this even came out, but it was about Billy discussing how when he was with Roth they wanted to use background tracks and he just couldn't deal with it. It's either live or nothing, and I totally agree with that. So I mean, I just can't confirm that Billy did say, but I just read an article about Billy saying something like that, and and I know Billy doesn't bullshit. So I mean, unless his words, but then again, Billy's not the type of guy just to say something. So did he really say it or not say it? Is somebody taking words out of, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think he's going to go out there and, say anything negative about anybody, right? Or anything.
Right.
So, but that being the case, I agree. I don't, I don't like background tracks. Okay. But then again, it also goes to prove that, these bands that are doing this, they're there to make money. So now this is such a hard topic.
But also, does it start a little bit like cocaine addiction? Like, here, I'll take a line because I need this sound effect, before the song starts.
Yes.
Oh, and there's a little horn. There's a French horn that's only there for 2 notes rather than hire another guy. We'll just put that horn, and you know what? 10 seconds later, is that what happens? And all of a sudden it just gets out of from a production element to the whole production.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? Let's yes, I think that it does totally. It totally manipulates the product, okay?
Right.
And it becomes so just overdone and fake that it becomes so unfair to musicians that want to go out there and play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, that's not taking away from the production team that's doing it, right?
Right.
Because everybody has a job. So, but I think the problem that we're having in today's world, and I want to be very, very careful because I truly don't want to insult anybody.
Right.
You have these musicians, okay, these tribute bands that are making a living on the hard work of artists who took their time, recorded, wrote, put their heart into the music, okay? Right. And now and they can't make money today, you know what I'm saying? Because their bands aren't together, or whatever.
Here's my view on it. If you're a cover band or a tribute band and you're making money, whatever you're making, send half to the band you're posing with.
I totally agree with you.
Because that's how it's supposed to work.
But it doesn't.
Right. But that's what you should be doing.
You're absolutely right. And then the venues are so used to this souped up sales of attendance, which I don't blame them. They got to make money. It leaves no room for a new artist to perform. And because nobody's going to come see a new artist. Right. And, I mean, even the Winery Dogs, right? This is their third album, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 tours were a bust. Okay,
aside from the live one.
Yeah, they're finally starting to make some money. Okay, they're finally but it took them 3 rounds to go, right? But now, even if someone went into and started a Van Halen cover band, and you had a Billy in it or somebody like that, I mean, they would sell out every night from the get-go. On music they didn't even write. You know what I mean? So look at it from that perspective, right?
Sure.
I listen, for me, again, I'm too close to it to put it down. All I can say is that, a bar band, I still really appreciate, because you want to go have a beer and you want to watch a great bar band, enjoy it.
I bought a $5 CD from this one, artist that no one was listening to. And, Alison Krauss recorded her second album with Robert Plant.
Awesome. Listen, that's awesome.
She was local here for years, kicking it around.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I just don't, and Rob goes out there and he takes, pictures of these guys and stuff like that, which I love Rob, but I feel if you're going to put on a wig and you're going to dress, like a band, that, like an Aerosmith or Van Halen, I think, honestly, with not disrespecting the musicians, I feel it's more of a circus act. I think you belong, in Vegas on, some kind of, remember that years ago they used to have that, what is it called? They had the Michael Jackson guy, the Neil Diamond guy, the Elvis Presley guy, right? And you go, and you go see the show, and they would all do like 3 songs. And I think these bands are no different than that. I mean, I'm sorry.
Like I had an idea. I posed to Pat, who we do album by album together. I'm like, maybe we should just go out and do a cover band, but we do 4 bands.
Yeah,
that's it. 4 bands, just their music, and then the next time we go and do a bunch of shows, it's 4 other bands.
Yeah,
but it's so hard to. You can't as a rock band anymore. I mean, unless you want to pay for the bar, if you want to pay to play, it's very tough.
Listen, I'm totally in agreement. Again, it has its time. I have a feeling that it's going to start wearing down. You know what I mean? My biggest problem with the tribute scene is mostly with the bands who think they are the band they're imitating. It's like, hey, we're going on tour. No, you're not. You're not going on tour. Okay. It's that's what hey, we're on a plane too. Dude, nobody cares. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know guys that, in no disrespect, they're plumbers during the day and they're playing music at night and they think I care or people care that they're posting that, they're on a plane to wherever they're going. Like, I think, see, that's what's disturbing.
I used to hang out
like,
with one of the guys in Lizzie Borden, and he worked for a moving company off time. It's like
right.
And
Well,
Lizzie off time, he's a carpenter.
Yeah, listen, I get it.
Yeah.
My thing is, but the bands that are doing their own music, the artists that are doing, they got to support themselves, right? So if I was washing floors, proudly washing floors, during the day in a building or whatever, and so I could pay for my studio time, I totally respect that. Hey, do what you got to do. But you know what? If I'm dressing in if I'm dressing, in leotards and I want to look like, Eddie Van Halen or, Joe Perry, and I'm going out there and acting like I'm Joe Perry or Eddie Van Halen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So speaking of the best washing the floor story ever. Okay. So I live in Westmont. I'm a half block off of Muddy Waters Boulevard, honorary Muddy Waters Boulevard.
Right.
Muddy lived in town here before he died. Rolling Stones comes in to town to record at Chess Records because they wanted to record where, Junior Wells, Muddy, Howland, all these guys recorded. So they're in there and they're in the control room, and they're looking through the glass, and Keith's like, that guy looks a lot like Muddy Waters. And the engineer's like, that's because it is.
Right.
And Mick's like, why is he sweeping the floor?
Right.
Because he's got to pay his mortgage. It's like, have him come in because he doesn't work for you anymore.
Wow.
So they tell Muddy to come in the room. By the time he gets there, Rolling Stones management has written out a check to Muddy Waters for the tune of $1 million.
Beautiful.
And he walks in, he goes, and they're like, you no longer work here. Thank you very much. We're who we are because of you.
Right.
Then they did the PBS special. They did a special show here at Chicago Blue.
Right.
And then Muddy Waters came back and, he was out performing again. But how cool of the Rolling Stones to do that.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about, man. It's like, it's so awesome to hear stories like that,
Right.
because these are artists who know how hard it is to make it.
Right.
They made it, and they're sitting there going, oh my God, we were influenced by this guy. And he's washing floors, listen, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I love. And you know what? Mm-hmm. And I just want, and there is no bad, to me, there's no bad musician. I'm going to be honest with you. And that's why I said, before I make any comments about cover bands or tribute bands, cover band playing a bar, I totally respect. Yeah. I think it's awesome. Who doesn't want to have a good beer instead of and listening to a great band?
Well, you get stage time. You learn different styles. You learn different philosophies of playing, different chord structures.
That's awesome, man. And you know what? And that's what I love, right? So, and you find some of the best musicians are playing those places. I mean, little bars on a Wednesday night.
And here's a question that I pose a lot. I think perhaps wouldn't it be a better idea, like if you're in a jazz band and you played Strangers in the Night,
right?
Okay, no problem. Mac the Knife, okay, next. I love, New York, New York, okay, great. Right. Maybe we should revert to calling them standards again.
Yes.
Because it's just a totally different feeling when you hear it.
Correct.
Because being a cover band, there's nothing wrong with it. But
I love it.
But it gets to kind of, they're just playing rock standards. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know,
But
jazz
again,
standards are great. You know,
and again, there's a difference between cover bands, a wedding
Right.
band, and a tribute band, right?
but
A
when
tribute,
you're paying $1,000, you don't want to hear pipe. Okay, you know, I love Motley Crue. You know, everyone can tell that their whole stage show's piped,
right?
except the weakest link.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, if you're gonna pipe in anyone, pipe in Vince.
Yeah, I know.
For the love of God. I mean,
But now they got John 5. I love John 5.
I love Motley Crue. Don't get me wrong, love them. But what?
Yeah. You know, listen. Again, I just I still have that big heart for those 90s bands, man.
Oh, I love them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and to me, for some reason, they can't do any wrong, because they were the essence of, just like Jimi Hendrix was.
Yeah. I mean,
and
back in the old days, I knew that they were piping in their background vocals because he couldn't get that sound live on stage.
Exactly.
That's, okay, if you want to do background vocals, I'm cool with that. If you can't, you know what I mean? If you can't get the sound right, at least the audience has the trigger of the hook.
Right. But who do we have today? This is the question. Who do we have today that kids that, like we did, can look up to and say, hey, I want to be like that? I mean, who I try to figure it out. I mean, and I keep going back to the people that have already been the greats already. I mean, like, I'm waiting for Vito Bratta to come back from White Lion, out of retirement.
That ain't happening. I think he's got medical issues that he can't.
He does. Yeah. But still, but that's what I'm trying to talk about. Like, it's like, give me somebody that I can say, wow, I want to do that when I grow up, or I want to tour the world doing that. Right. Even Phil Collins, right? Phil Collins, poor guy. Look what he's become, But what do we have? And that's really,
Well, I think everyone's so fractured too.
Yeah. So and again, I'm not trying to say that what I'm doing is going to make any kind of difference, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Right.
Like, when people hear the new album from Road Crew, Don Chaffin has to be the best vocalist in the world. Top 10.
He's really, really good.
Right. So now we got to write down some great music so he can showcase that vocal. Right. Because if we're just writing the same stuff that everybody else is writing, guess what? No, it doesn't matter.
Right to his voice.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's something that, I'm really I'm focused on. And we've already, I mean, listen, the songs are written. Now it's a matter of the production behind it. And we don't want to overkill it. It's still going to be rock and roll. So I'm hoping that, between one or two power ballads, between not traditional power ballads, just different, what I'm calling power ballads, some of the funkier stuff, some of the straight out rock and roll stuff, it's all going to sound like it's coming from one unit, and it's going to be like a real fun album that everyone can listen to and say, hey, this is what the next decade of music is going to be like. Again, I'm not claiming to be reinventing the wheel. What I'm trying to say is that I want every tune on the album, like David Lee Roth would say, all thriller, no filler, and that's something that I really, I'm looking forward to do. And I hope that a lot of bands that try to write the new songs and come out in the future are doing the same thing. Like, I don't want to sound like Motley Crue. I don't want to sound like, Black Sabbath. I don't want to say that's already been done. And what can we give the audience so they're like, oh man, that sounds pretty cool. We did a song, someone in the industry said, hey man, that's got a little cool Deep Purple-ish type of thing. Not that we sound like Deep Purple, but it was pretty cool for him to grab that out of it, because that's where I intended to go with it, you know.
Right.
And
like back in the day when I was playing, like we had a metal band, and I came from, my dad was a huge jazz and big band guy, so I came up with Coltrane, I came up with Duke Ellington, I came up with all Louis Prima, all these guys, and I was like, guys, we need to put horns in metal. They're like, what? They're like, you're crazy. I'm like, no. I said, big band was the original. Swing music was the original metal, because the saxophone was the lead guitar part, and the horns were the riffs.
Right.
And it was Bad Boy. And if you listen to jazz, you were going to hell or whatever, and you were probably smoking that dope.
Yeah.
But it had the same attitude. You know what I mean? And I couldn't convince anyone. It drove me nuts. Joey.
It's very hard.
But
very hard.
Yeah. Speaking of already been done. So Ozzy, love him. He wants to. They're now talking about him coming out on a chair that drives around a stage.
Interesting.
For the fest out in California.
I don't know. I don't want Ozzy to. Okay, I know he's in a considerable amount of pain, and this just he's got a hope to do it. Yeah, but I respect Ozzy enough to where I don't want him to.
Yeah,
I know it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I love Ozzy Osbourne. He's given everyone, Nice. There we go.
Lights came on. Right. The car just turned off. So it's like it's had enough of me.
Yeah. And then, of course, James Hetfield is coming out with a guitar book with some professional beauty guitar photography, and going to describe, I think, 40 of his guitars.
Wow.
But yeah, what do you got? What do you think about Ozzy returning? I think
I'm a big Ozzy fan. Ozzy fan.
Sure.
It's like, I think he may be at time, he might be ready to retire. I think listen,
he doesn't owe anyone anything. He has nothing to prove.
Exactly, man. And you know what? I just love, he's given us so much. And if he can't do what he's known for doing, it's just like, Muhammad Ali going back in the ring, not even knowing who he was. It doesn't make any sense. But again, he's Ozzy, and I was just listening to him on Ozzy's Boneyard. He's still got his marbles there,
right?
For
sure. Sharon.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, listen, I think Ozzy should do what Kiss did. I think Ozzy, in a way, if he can do it, can handle it physically, just come out there and say, this is it. Do like maybe one show in every fucking country, excuse my language, and just call it a day, and just go out, the way he should, man, as one of the best that ever lived. I think I'd be good enough with that.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away. I just don't want him to be in any pain just to.
No, I'm with you, man. And I'm with you. And you know what would be really cool with Ozzy? And I don't know if it's been done yet. I think Ozzy should go do a show and bring out all of his old guitar players, obviously with the exception of Randy, Jake E. Lee, bring Brad Gillison, bring what's his name, Zach. And just
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah. Just do a show where it's like these guys come out, they do 3 songs each. How cool would that be, Right. And just like a tribute to the king, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, that's just my head, but like I just I think that he's had better days, and I respect him so much.
Right.
I'm hearing noises. I mean, like I don't know what the hell's anyway. Oh shit! I think I got to move, but I'll keep you guys with me. Hold on a second.
All righty. So meanwhile,
I think I'm blocking a driveway or something. I don't know. I mean, literally, my partner just left me. Hold on a second.
So we did Anthony Gomes for covered handcuffs reaction yesterday. Of course, Biff couldn't say it either, but he dropped it early, so we're doing that. Next week we're gonna have Beth Hart on TuneIn.
Are you?
Yeah, we're also gonna We're also going to do Joanna Connor, I Feel So Good on Tunage, and the incomparable Miss Ivy Ford doing Voodoo Women reaction. And let me tell you, a lot of people can play the blues. A lot of people can play technically. A lot of people can try to have the mojo on stage. Man, she is the complete package. Seeing her, it's Chicago blues at its finest, and she's in her young 30s, and she's just an amazing performer. And as you see by the guitar she's got there, oh, not that one, but she has been taken under the wing by Buddy Guy and all the players in town. But I think she's got a huge future in front of her.
Huge.
A lot of huge stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. What are you now, Joy?
I'm in somebody's driveway.
Hey, did the silencer fit?
Yes, it fits perfectly. Fit perfectly. Listen, this is live. This is a lot of fun. You know, I really I just again I really appreciate what you do, and you know what Rob does, because it just keeps fresh music alive. And it just makes life so great for us trying to make something happen here.
Oh yeah, and especially now when bands don't have the support, even if they're even back in the day when you're on a small label, they at least did something.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing for nobody at any level unless you're Metallica.
Right.
So
exactly. But you know what? I for some reason I'm probably just an optimist. I do feel things are going to turn around. And I
hope so. They just have to figure out a new model where they're not screwing everyone.
Right.
And realizing it.
Exactly. And also the musicians got to start writing music again, man. They got to get their heads out of their asses, and they got to start writing music again. They got to stop relying like, hey man, I can buy this pedal and I'm going to sound like, Randy Rhoads, because you're not, and it's just so touchy. Listen, guys, I've been asked to be in about 100 tribute projects, from AC/DC, Ozzy, Kiss, Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, whatever. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. When I was working with the female artists for a while, I was doing it part-time on the side just to see. And, I was at rehearsals for a Led Zeppelin project, right? And the lead singer came up to me, and I quit. He came up to me and said, hey, man, can you just bend that note and hold it a little longer? Like, I was like, what? I was like, I was like, I don't get it.
You mean like this?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, exactly. I said, dude, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I got to get out of this project. I said, this is not healthy. I'm like, since when? All right, it doesn't matter. The point of what I experienced doesn't matter. The thing is, I'd rather be putting that energy into writing music. That was my point. I'd rather be in the studio writing music than sitting here trying to satisfy a Robert Plant wannabe, on a note. It just made no sense to me. So I feel that a lot of the cover stuff that I did do in the past was more energetic. It was kind of off the cuff, I worked with a singer, great singers, Doug Zahn. I mean, Rob, you know him from the Long Island scene. I mean, this guy could sing anything, right? And me and him would get together on stage and do Zeppelin. We didn't even have to rehearse.
Right.
We took what he knew. Well, let me rephrase. We took his interpretation. We took my interpretation. We had a great drummer, great bass player. And you know what? We put on a show, and it sounded great. right? And it wasn't about, playing each note perfectly off the album, the way Jimmy does or Robert does or, John Paul Jones does. It was more about the feel, the groove, the kick-ass energy. And that to me is a cool, if you're going to do a cover band or whatever, that was really cool, So, but again, today, if you're going to put the time into doing stuff, and if kids don't do it, it's only going to be a continuation of no new music. Where's the new Nirvanas? Where's the new, you know what I'm saying? The new Led Zeppelins? Where's the new Aerosmiths? That's, anybody. I mean, even Greta Van Fleet, they got a lot of shit, whether you like them or you don't like them or whatever. At least they were writing their own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, my buddy went to see him in California last week or so. I didn't even know they're selling out arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I love it. Again, put them down for sounding like Led Zeppelin or whatever. But you know what? They're writing music, and that's what I'm saying. If you want to be a band that's, you're an Aerosmith tribute band, go write a couple of songs. Let me see what you got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 21-year-old kid, Austin Moe kid.
Yeah.
He's being produced by Frank Hannon of Tesla.
Awesome. Yes. And you know what?
Great guy, great parents. He doesn't, party, doesn't drink. He's got a level head and just a genuine nice dude.
Yeah. And all those guys
really good music.
Yeah. And all those guys from Tesla are big supporters of original music. Mm-hmm. They're big supporters of new artists writing, all of the guys, from the bass player to Frank to everybody. And, that's nice to see. Again, and even myself, like, I'm working on this album, producing most of it, on my own. I'm getting to the point where I do want to ask, like maybe Kip Winger, to come in and help out to see what he's feeling or hearing on it, different guys, that just maybe can give me some kind of, I wanted to go out there knowing that it's the best product that I can put out. And once I feel that's the case, and I don't want to release it independently. We have major labels that are interested in it. That's new news that I can announce. So it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to have some kind of major name attached to it, other than the players. Mm-hmm. And I'm still, Rob, I'm working on, one gentleman that I'm hoping he's an amazing instrumentalist and violinist, Mark Wood. I've been talking to him. It's not written in stone. He's on tour right now till May. But I got, God willing, he's going to come around and we're going to have a meeting. We've already chatted about it. Sent him some tracks. And, again, it's not only about putting someone great on the album. It's also, what are they going to do on the album? You just don't want them just for the name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And not for anything. Let's just talk about Mark for a second. And I'm going to, this man invented and created. He's just like Eddie Van Halen, he made a difference for the guitar. Jimi Hendrix made a difference with the guitar. Mark Wood made a difference on the violin. This guy is an innovator, and I don't think he gets enough attention. He's the best. Mm-hmm. Has a violin line, the Wood violins, the Viper. And other ones. Yeah, and this guy, man, if just to have him perform with me on the album or on the Road Crew album would be such an honor, because to have innovators, not just players. I'm talking about the best of the best of the best at their instrument on a couple of tracks would make...
And if you're improving on the violin after 700 years of existence,
exactly,
that's pretty good.
And and exactly, and you know what? I'm doing more that he deserves a major place in music history, you know.
Yeah.
And we're living in an era, guys, that we had Eddie Van Halen, we have Billy Sheehan, who is known, and according to Bass Magazine, the greatest rock and roll bass player in the world.
Of course.
Right? We have a Mark Wood in existence today. So that, to me, from a musical standpoint, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm living with the best of the best of the best. So let's go out there and put something together, that is going to, the world can enjoy the music forever once we're gone, and they could sit and put that song on or that album on and say, wow, man, that's some great stuff in there. Remember Grand Funk Railroad? I mean, come on. I mean, these are guys that, are forgotten about today.
Three Dog Night.
Yeah. That, so, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, even if I could get a little bit of that, you know what I'm saying? Where, 100 years from now, or God willing, the world is still going strong. And, people are like, oh, remember that Road Crew band? Listen to this track. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be, that.
And they play rock and roll.
Rock and roll or whatever it is, that they can say, wow, listen to what they did there. And that, to me, it would be an accomplishment in itself. So, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, innovators, writers, artists, I totally respect every single one of them for what they do.
Right.
And that's really the whole scoop on it.
Absolutely. So everybody, take that with you. Get stuffed at Giordano's at Downers Grove. Want to thank Joey Gem for co-hosting tonight, and from places unknown in the dark.
Yeah, guys.
New York today. That's how it is. And of course, my brother from another mother, Mr. Robert Armstrong, coming in. Joey, why don't you give us? Why don't you tell us about Universal Love?
Okay. Yes, Universal Love. Let me see it, man. Can I get some light in here? Here you go. Hey, how's that?
There you go.
So, Universal Love is something that transcends, unconditional love. It's something that you can share with someone, whether it's a man and a man, a woman. It doesn't have to have any kind of, male, female type of thing. Let's just say, to be generic here. It's something that, and universal love is something that you give to someone or you feel for someone, and it's not retractable. Meaning, no matter what circumstances we go through in life, okay, whether it's an argument, disagreements, separations, and of any kind, you still universally love that person, not for what they're doing at the current time, but for who they are, just because they are who they are. And that you should never take away. And I think if more people look at each other and universally love each other, and they spread the word and they give it and they share it, the world is going to be a better place. And if someone pisses you off, you say, you know what? I love you. I love you. You don't have to even tell them. Don't wish them any kind of harm. Just love them. And just the way I love Robert, even though he goes to support all the tribute bands. Only joking. I totally, listen, seriously, I'm joking. I love you. No, but that's what universal love is about. It's about not feeling the things that we usually feel, the hatred, the pain, the anger. It's about going above and beyond that.
Well, this show is all about universal love, then, because this is dedicated to my brother Ray. Just the other day, it was his 3-year anniversary of no longer being with us.
Yes, sir.
And 2 weeks ago on 3/16, it was another anniversary of Rocco no longer being physically with us.
Exactly.
And and as you go on, there's it changes.
It does. It does. But the love never, you never love them any less. You might love them more. And you know what? And again, this is a beautiful thing that you're bringing up here, because even with your brother or Rocco or anyone else, then the world starts to love them.
Right.
Right? I love your brother. I never met him. I love him because I know you love him.
Right.
And and that's the universal part of universal love.
Yeah, and people come up to me all the time, Joey, and they're like, "Hey, are you making money yet on the podcast?" First of all, I go, "That's fucking rude to even ask." Second of all, I said, "Well, no, because it's even better. We know for a fact that we had 3 people stop action on taking their lives. 3 people.
Awesome.
That's bigger than any. I'd rather have that than $100 million opening of whatever I've written, any award. To me, that validates my work and my friends who come on here and help me to spread fart jokes in the name of hey man, if you're feeling rough, talk to somebody. It's that easy.
Well, and I got to say this because you just brought it up. Last night, I received a text from a XXXX girlfriend, very nice person, has her own issues with alcoholism and I'm assuming mental illness. I get a text out of the blue. I have no reason to live anymore. Then I get 2 pictures of a pond or a lake. In case you need to find me, this is where I'll be. It's like, so immediately you take action, but in a nice way, in a kind way, not to attack them in any way. Right. And you know what? Today she's still walking the earth, saying, I was just having a real hard time. So right there, it says it all. Take the time to listen to somebody instead of just saying F off or whatever, because the action that I took, which was more than just a text or a phone call, I called her family, said, hey, reach out, and immediately everyone got involved.
Right.
This person is still walking the earth today.
Right.
And that's a sign, again, of loving and universal love. I don't want to see that. I don't want to be with the person ever again, or you know what I'm trying to say in that respect. However,
you don't wish ill will.
Right.
Yeah, but listen, but universally, I love her.
Yeah.
Okay. That love transformed into something other than the physical love that we might have had at one time. However, I still love her, and for something to happen to her would be so sad on every part of life. And that's what we're talking about here. It's like, just taking the time to care. And that's why if more people thought like we did, it really would be a better place to live, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and
don't believe what the screens are telling you guys.
Yeah.
Go outside, talk to your neighbor, and it's not what they report that it is.
Right. And I totally agree with you,
Yeah.
So, and thank you very much, for having me on.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy the conversations. And I think I may have been in more of a comfortable place if I was in my office or something. But you know what? It's like kind of.
Well, hey man, the album's gonna come out. The video's
rock and roll.
come out. You're always welcome here. You're part of the pod family.
I really appreciate it, and you know what? And I will. As soon as things get a little more heated as far as the music is concerned, and record companies and all that stuff, I will definitely give you. I'll give Rob and you guys a first. I'll give you the news first, so this way, it's just cool to be around you guys and talk about it.
Absolutely. And what's really cool is right after this, we're going to release a reaction video to Rock and Roll with the artist. You don't see that.
No, it's gonna be awesome.
So I haven't seen that before.
No, this is gonna be awesome.
So
it's a test run,
trend, because a lot of people want to hear the little intricacies. And I have a question about the beginning of the song that I really want to ask you. That's been driving me crazy.
Awesome,
in a good way.
Yeah, no, awesome. I'm ready to answer that.
Yeah, and Jason just piped in. He goes, "Oh, I just got home." He goes, "Thanks, guys. Thanks for filling in, Joey." Hey, Jason.
Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely.
Rob, my brother, forward me your check.
Yeah, Rob, my brother from another mother. Love you, buddy.
Love you, man.
Love you,
Joey.
We'll see you guys next time, and you guys hang on after this, of course, and we will see you guys next time. Horns up.